This week's episode of Talking to Mod is sponsored by the Coffee Mod. Don't just dress like an ace face, drink like one too. They're also giving our listeners 15% off when you use the promo code MAGICMOD15. So what are you waiting for? How are we doing, everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of Talking to Mod. This week we have the fantastic artist Pete Mckee. We talk about everything from art to music to mods to bowling shoes and Sheffield Wednesday. So sit back, relax and enjoy episode 19 of Talking to Mod. Oh, get on that!
We did it at last.
Wait, everyone's like, mate, stick to magic. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, let's just stick to painting as well.
You know what? Honestly, listen, it's probably the way I've explained it, Pete, but thank you very much for...
I have no idea. It wasn't showing anything that you kind of were suggesting, so maybe it's my shit old phone. I don't know, but... The thing is, I was in my studio, I got it all set up, I got it on a tripod and everything. Now I'm in the spare bedroom, fucking holding it in my hand. It's going to go numb.
Oh, well, I won't keep you too long. But
no, I can talk like anyone, so we can be on here for about 3 hours.
Oh, that's all right, mate. I mean, at the moment, I think Dino's the record holder, Dino from the Rifles. He loves a chat, especially when he's on the red wine, mate, I tell you.
Yeah.
But I was similar story. I was all set up in my bedroom, tripod, the light and all that. And then Lonnie went to bed early doors, so we stuck him in his room next door. But the missus is like, no, you can't go in here now. You've got to go downstairs and do it because you're a bit loud. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, here we go. But we got there in the end, mate.
We did, yeah. I'm banished upstairs because Mrs. M's watching Coronation Street. So there we go.
Is that a Lauren and Hardy box set I see in the background?
It is, yeah, the full collection,
Brilliant. I love them. I remember, I think QVC, I'm not sure if that's still a channel anymore, but I remember they were selling it like on special offer on QVC, and I begged my mum to get it for me because Laurel Hardy, Norman Wisdom, all that, Charlie Chaplin, I love all them sort of films.
Yeah, brought up on it, you know, all my family are older than me, and so whenever it were on telly, I was shoved in front of it, and it became part of my DNA. You pass it on down the line, really. The box set that was behind me, I got that from HMV, I think it was about 50 quid when it first came out.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you still
absolute beautiful classic comedy? Just never tired of watching it. It's kind of now my like Christmas tradition. I put a Lauren Hardy, couple of Lauren Hardy videos on Christmas Eve.
Love that. In my household, it's tradition to stick on Tommy Cooper, and there's no one else. That's it. I love his stuff, mate. But how you been, mate? You been well?
Yeah, all good. Yeah. Working hard. I've got a new exhibition that's about to launch in 3 weeks' time. And so I've been working really hard to get it all done, all the work that's required for it. Yeah.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. When's that? Whereabouts is that? Is that hometown?
Yeah, it's in Sheffield. A majority of my exhibitions end up in Sheffield, especially the big ones where I build things and stuff and make a special occasion out of it. So it's in this warehouse space, and I've got a little build. There's a guy who used to make theatre sets called Neil Gidley, and so I use him when I need something creating to go with my artwork. So he's beavering away building something for me for the show, and it's on for 2 weeks, which is kind of quite long for me normally for shows. I used to basically just have them on for 2 days in a warehouse, and I'd paint like 30 odd paintings and do all sorts, and just have it on for a day because I couldn't afford to rent anything out for any longer or any security. So you had to see it on that day or not see it at all. So you'd end up with like about 5,000 people trudging down to see me work. And so this time round, it's on for 2 weeks, and I've had to ticket it and make people pay so that I can afford to build this crazy thing that I'm building for the show. So it's all exciting.
I'm excited to know what this is. I'm looking. When does it kick off? Sorry, what's the launch date?
It's 3rd of November is the private launch, and then so the 4th, which is the Saturday, is the first day for tickets. So all the Saturdays have sold out now, and we're selling all the other dates now through the week.
I might have to try and fly down and jump on this to see all about it, mate. I'm excited.
invite you to get down there with pleasure. So let me know.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you, mate. Thank you. But away from art for
Yeah.
a minute, I know you've got a big, big love of music, like myself.
Yeah.
What sort of music were you listening to when you were growing up, mate?
Well, it starts. I guess my dad, who's a lot older than everybody else in the world, his favourite stuff were like the Ink Spots and things like that. So the 1930s sort of music. He was a piano player and an accordion player as well as a steel worker. I guess everybody that age, they picked a musical instrument and learned to play it just purely for entertainment around the house and stuff. So he performed on the clubs and stuff as an accordionist, and he had an accordion band called, I think they were just simply called the Accordion Serenaders, and they'd wear these big velour shirts and stuff, big sleeves, and like kind of continental look, like an Italian sort of kind of vibe. And so they did that. And then my brothers, my eldest, Ash Stewart, he grew up in the 60s, so he was a bit of a mod, but he kind of touched more into the folk movement when that was coming through. So like Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, and all those sort of guys. And so I was brought up on his sort of musical taste. And then our Ian, the middle-aged one, middle in the ages, he grew up on sort of glam rock and Queen, so early Queen and Alice Cooper and stuff like that. So I grew up listening to that. And then my big sis, she was a Beatles and Stones fan. So again, I got all that. So a 4-year-old kid and with a record playing a bunch of singles. Half of them got scratched to death, and the other half got played to death.
That's a bit of everything in the household then, isn't it, mate, eh?
You what, sorry?
That's a bit of all sorts of music you were listening to.
That's it. Yeah, so I'm obsessed with melody in a sense. So I'll listen to anything if it's got a good hook line to it or a good tune. I'll soak it up every day of the week. So I've been listening to Doja Cat today, and because she's got some great hook lines with her kind of stuff. And I've got Spotify, which is obviously the case of any professional musician, because obviously we're all sucking up for now. But what it means is I just troll new stuff all the time, and I'm obsessed by trying to find something new to listen to. I never remember any of the stuff now because I'm 56, so I can't remember what I've had for my tea, never mind what I've listened to.
I'm a bit like that.
Yeah, but coming back to growing up, so when I started then being a spotty with greasy hair, and music suddenly starts meaning something to you rather than it just sounding nice, and you get an empowerment from what you're listening to. And it tends to be because obviously I grew up with the top of the pops generation, which means that you visualize the act with the music, you could connect the two. And so you have this visceral experience and seeing these guys wearing clothes that you couldn't get in the shops. And so after all the Queen stuff, and then you get the punk in there, I think the music that got me first was kind of ska and mod music in that second wave. And so me and my mate, we were kind of plastic mods at that time. So he had, though, Jason Frost, I don't know if he's listening, but he's a scooter boy. He's a mechanic, and he's so he basically learned how to build scooters from nothing, from a manual, and he got his own scooter firm called Absolutely Scooters. So a lot of scooter boys who might be listening to this will know Jason. But his mum and dad had a bit more money than mine because he was an only child. So when it came to the Parkers, he had the proper military one from Army stores, and he gave me his hand-me-down, which was like this CNA special, and it got like madness badges on it and all sorts. So like I was like really cool plastic mod, where he was like walking around with proper stuff. But I did manage to pilfer a couple of things from my brother-in-law and Ash Stewart, who were mods at the time. So Total Scars became part of my wardrobe, and from my brother-in-law Alan, because he had an original like mustard paisley one. And when the mod movement came out, came out, there's this book that was produced, and you can still get it now, I think, and I think it's just simply called The Mods, and it's just a whole collection of black and white photographs taken from like about 1964, And that were our Bible as kids. And we'd look at that and what clothes people were wearing. And there was this one guy with this dancing in this club, and he got like a crew neck sweater and a total scarf around his neck. And I just thought, wow, that's it. I'm ahead of trend now with this. So that became part of my armour. And I collect total scarves from that day on and still wear them now, thinking I'm still 16.
Nothing wrong with that.
That was the first kind of fashion movement for me. And then I moved on to sort of indie pop after that when I got to being about 18, because I was like only 14, 15 when Mod were out.
You can't beat it. I mean, my mum and dad, I got it like sort of broke down from them, and I've not looked back. There's something about it when you're sticking on a two-tone suit and you got like your loafers on, and you just know you look the absolute dog's bollocks. Do you know what I mean?
Well, two-tones are kind of difficult thing to get hold of. There's this like kind of urban myth or legend that there was only one ream of two-tone material left in the whole world, and this one guy had got it. But in the 70s, you could get two-tone suits from Harrington's, this shop in the market in Sheffield. So I went down. My dad had given me some money to get this suit, and everyone else, all my mates, Paul Bow and that lot, they got these two-tone suits. It's such a gorgeous colour as well, because you've got the steel and green colour, and you also got like a mauve and blue, and it's a great shimmer to either of those. And they were influential for us because we were massively into the specials and the two-tone trousers, then the stay press. So anyway, I went down to get this two-tone suit from Harrington's, and it sold out. I hadn't got any anyway. All they got were like jet black 3-button suit, which I bought begrudgingly, wanting that. But I was the only kid in like a black suit, which basically was the selector or look at that point. So I got my sister to take my trousers up, so that my white tube socks, sports socks were showing, and flapping around in this suit and some air sobs. Rather than Doc Martens, I got the knockoff army ones, whatever they were. What country were the Sov Air ones? I'm not sure, but they were the knockoffs. And so I was flapping around in these size 10 brogues, because that again, the Madness first LP sleeve, One Step Beyond, you'd study that to death because of what they were wearing. You look at the shoes and the brogues or the loafers, and that's what you'd have to get. That's your Bible. So like guys like you guys or whatever, go down to Jump the Gun or whatever, and it's straight off the shelves. But for us, we took some routing, and we got some really bad knockoff stuff at that point.
I suppose I sort of take it for granted because, as you said, so lucky to have all them shops in Brighton. You've got Jump the Gun, you've got the Mod Father, and they've got one in Camden as well. And then you've got excellent clothing run by Darren, and it's sort of take it for granted that it's all there, rather than, as you say, I've heard so many stories with other people I've had on, and they, like you just mentioned, you have to go and root for it and really put the graft in to find something you like. But probably a bit like finding a single or an LP you want, and you've got to root around and try and find the best one. And I think we take it for granted now because everything's there, isn't it?
It is. I think one of the beauties, though, of any kind of music scene that has a uniform is that kind of it's that order. I don't know what it is. It's just that you aspire. There's something to aspire to get the right gear to be part of that, and it becomes a way of life in a sense. You'll have seen guys on the mod scene who are my age, and they're dressed to the ninth in all the right gear in a sense, to the point where it's painful to live that life where you can't dress anywhere else. Putting a pair of jogging bottoms on your slippers is just not the done thing. It's got to be sit watching TV and you stay impressed.
It's true.
It's admirable, and whether it's mod or whatever, I'm obsessed by that kind of the street culture and what it really meant to be working class, and how important it was to have that uniform of whatever it was, the music, because it gave you an identity and it gave you an aspiration.
100%. You know, you can sort of look at someone, look at their dress sense, and sort of pinpoint and go, right, he definitely listens to the Jam
Yeah.
or the Who, the Kinks, the Clash. These days, people look at me and go, oh, his favourite album's probably like Definitely Maybe or something, and I'm like, no, it ain't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, you're interested in that because obviously when the Jam first came out, they were the Jam fans. Anyone who was a Jam fan was a Jam fan, and they dressed accordingly. They would look at all mod cons and then look for the bowling shoes, or go, get the knockoff ones or whatever. They would dress like members of the Jam, and you spot them a mile off at school, at youth clubs and stuff. There's a lad who's called Steve Genn, and I was talking about him the other day. Anyway, and they just followed the Jam up and down the country. Pete Skidmore, that's it. And they were just dressed in all the stuff that were on top of the pops practically the day after, kind of thing. And so, again, it's just great memories.
can't beat it. I remember I mean, the Jam are my favourite band, and I listen to them religiously every day. I remember looking at the photos and seeing, in this particular photo, it was Bruce Foxton wearing the bowling shoes, and I went, oh my God, I've got to go and get a pair of them, right? And I remember one day we all went to, it was like AMC bowling or something in Crawley. It was my mum, my dad and me.
Did you go
and I left my shoes there. Took a pair of bowling shoes, and it weren't till we got home, because I think they were them Michael Owen shoes or something that he brung out, kickers or something, and they lit up at the bottom. I was only quite a young lad. I wouldn't be bowling around in a pair of light up shoes now, but I remember I got home and they weren't pleased, so we had to go back down the bowling alley. I had to give them back, and in the end I got a pair from, I think it's called Madcap, and they're spot on. And I recently bought another pair probably last year, but I'd wear them because I feel comfortable in them, and I think they look absolutely immaculate. They look brilliant. But people who don't get the scene, they just look at you and go, he ain't right in the head. Where's he going, for a game of bowling or something? Do you know what I mean? You really do have to have, you've got to sort of have a pair of bollocks to wear something like that, ain't you?
Yeah, there's a pair of trainers that a company produced, and there's the trainers that Jimmy wears on the Who record sleeve.
Yes. Oh, I know exactly. Yes.
Because I don't know what the original make of those was, but I think someone reproduced them about 8 or 9 years ago, and obviously they sold out, and you can't get them now. But I don't know. But again, that they're a classic trainer.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. You have to take me shopping in Sheffield one day.
Yeah, you won't be getting out mod.
I've been to Sheffield a few times, especially when Fulham were playing against your beloved club, mate, Sheffield Wednesday. I've been many a time. So going on to the football beat, Sheffield Wednesday's ground is easily one of the best grounds I've been to, because it's still got that heritage of an old sort of club. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's very few.
At least it's better than the football at the moment. Anyway, the ground.
That's why I was going to talk about them at the end of the podcast. But I mean, same as like Fulham's ground. Yeah. It's a real it's old school, but then they've built this new stand up, and I know you've got to move with the times, and they've built the new stand. But it's just, I used to, maybe I'm just still old school like my old man, but I used to love going in there. And still had that old school vibe, but I mean, like Everton's ground, and they're getting moved into a new ground, didn't they?
I don't know. I mean, for us as Wednesdayites, the thought of moving to some conglomerate oval is just like a nightmare scenario, And I don't know how clubs like say, for instance, West Ham and Everton, and Arsenal, who've got so much history under the feet, and they sat on it, and they're now having to just go to this plastic edifice. And I don't know. I mean, it may happen to Wednesday, and we may deal with that. But at the moment, it feels like an abomination to do that. It's like it's part of your heritage, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the old Upton Park, West Ham's old ground, was brilliant. It had such an intimidating atmosphere. And I mean, you go to there, I think it's the Olympic Stadium or something now, and it's just ain't the same. Do you know what I mean? No. You're just so far away from the pitch.
Yeah. I can imagine that the West Ham fans hate it. I don't know about that, but I'll be surprised if they love it.
They probably love it when they're winning and they won
Yeah,
Europa
well,
League, didn't they?
yeah. That's it. Get the results, and nobody cares.
But let's go back to art, mate. And
Right.
you sort of brung your two loves, if you don't mind me saying, in art and music together, and you started doing some. There was the Oasis posters you did, didn't you, for their gig in? Help me out, Pete.
In Brighton.
That's the one.
That was the first one I did with them, and then I did a couple actually for their final, like their Wembley day and the Eaton Park as well. So that was a privilege to do those, because originally I'd sent Nola one of my pictures just as a gift, just as a random hopeful punt that he might like it and then promote me, as in talk about me and make me famous. But funnily enough, he did. He actually liked it and rang me up, the bugger. I were at home in my council house on Batemore, and I get this phone call, and it's Noel is actually on the phone talking to me, saying, "All right, mate, thanks so much for this picture. It's beautiful. I just absolutely love it. It's brilliant." And I'm like absolutely gobsmacked. We're just cooking, boiling up potatoes for mash and stuff in the kitchen, and I'm just talking to Noel Gallagher like he's like he's on my phone all the time. So I had this little conversation with him, and he put the phone down, and I'm like gobsmacked. And then 3 minutes later, rings me back and says, "Oh, hang on, I've got an idea. Will you just do a charity thing with me? I've got this thing and I need to find an artist. Would you be up for it?" So obviously I said, "Yeah, no problem." And it was this giant fiberglass Les Paul that Gibson had produced these. I think there was about 30 of them, and each musician had got an artist. So Weller got Peter Blake, and Noel got me. And so I replicated the image that I originally sent to Noel, which was A Good Education, which is this kid just sat on the edge of his bed with his guitar, learning to play the guitar, listening to. At that point, I think I'd got. I think it was a Clash, maybe, I can't remember now, but yeah, I think the Clash is mentioned, and the Beatles obviously is on there. And so, but what I did with Noel is pick all his favourite albums when he was a kid and what are now. So there are about 20 albums got referenced on this big piece of artwork, and from there on in, we had this relationship where I'd help him out with some artwork, and he'd ask me for doing stuff, and it's been like that ever since. So, been working with him on the Teenage Cancer Trust stuff as well, and he got me involved with those, and so I do posters for other bands whenever there's the gigs every year for Teenage Cancer Trust, and that raises a few bob. So it's really great.
We're going to talk more about Noel in a little while, because I'd like to bring up a lovely story about him and you, actually. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. But I want to know, what's your favourite bit of artwork you've done, mate?
Ever.
Yeah.
Well, I lost my mum when I was 7 to cancer, and so I don't really have many memories of her. So when I started doing all this art, I started putting characters together, because obviously mine's quite pictorial work, and it's references, everyday life. And so then I started doing paintings of my mum, and they were imagined scenes that I'd not had before. And so there's this one called Castle Market, where there's me on this like ride, like you put 5 pence in, it goes backwards and forwards. And then my mum stood next to me with the big heavy shopping bags from the market trip. And it was kind of this sort of thing that we would do, is that she'd drag me around the market, I complain like bloody hell. And eventually she'd yield and give in and let me have a treat of some kind. And it's so, I used the ride as that kind of treat. Normally it was a little kind of cheap plastic gift on one of these sort of carousels of you'd find in like on the shops, out on the front of shops. So it'd be like just like kind of magnet games and stuff like that, really crap. So that was the scene. It was on the really early paintings as well that I did, and it was kind of when I was trying to discover and work out my style. So it kind of grounded. It was not groundbreaking, but it laid the foundations. That's what I'm looking for, to what came next, in a sense. But I did actually flog it, even though I knew at the point that it was my favourite painting. But I did it as a dare to myself that if I'm going to be serious about being a professional artist, I have to sell work.
Yeah.
So I deliberately sell my favourite painting just to prove that that's what my career is.
What a beautiful story, honestly. That's brilliant, man. And thank you for sharing that with me, man.
Pleasure.
Now, I'd like to, I know I said a minute ago about Noel. Before I get onto that story, let's talk about this bad boy. Hey, now, what an honor, hey, and you got the mention. I mean, obviously, he's probably sent you about 20 copies of these, isn't he?
Just the one.
I mean, in the inside to say, it's got a bit, titled by kind permission from artist yourself. I mean, that is class, isn't it?
It's mental, honestly.
I mean, how did that go? Because that was a similar story. Didn't he just ring you up?
He did. He just rang me up. At this point, I got his name in my phone, so I knew it were. So he rang up and he said, "Oh man, I've just written this song. It's the best song I've ever written. Well, we're looking at your book, and that I just want to use that as the title. Would you mind?" I said, "Yes, not a problem. Get on with it. Brilliant." And then that was like a year later, the album gets released and he starts talking about it. And what's amazed me is I've never seen an album be talked about the title as much as the songs on it. You know what I mean? It's really odd. I don't know why it suddenly captured people's imaginations in that respect. But you're even on Jules on and that to talk about me, Paul Burger. But yeah, so amazing. Absolute blessed.
Do you have a favorite song off the album?
That was Castle Skies, isn't it?
It's got a. I mean, I thought you might have gone for something a bit different.
Them two chords that start here are gorgeous. It's beautiful.
I can't look past Pretty Boy. For me, that I must play that about 3-4 times a day. Right, I'm playing it, and the missus is like, please don't play it again. Don't play it again. It's a standing joke. I turn the speaker on, and she's like looking at me, going, "You better not. You better not." I can't help it. I just think it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, I'm just relieved it's a good album. I just didn't want my name to be over something that's a pile of craps.
Oh man.
Not that it's ever going to be, but
But what was?
It's a really, he's pulling it out the bag. Bless him.
It is class, though, isn't it? I mean, what an honor! What an honor, man. Yeah. I mean, not as good as. I mean, that is class, man. But similar. I'm on the credits of Paul Weller's album On Sunset, so I'm happy with that. Do you know what I mean? But
amazing.
I was in the studio one day with him, and he said that there was a bit where they needed some hand claps, and he's like, "I know someone who's good with his hands. Magic, get in there, son." And I mean, what an honour for me to do that. And I think it ended up going #1. So technically, I'm part of a #1 album.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah.
And then I retired after that.
Yeah, man. I went down to Blackburn once.
Beautiful place.
And it just, I mean, I was, because of the guitar thing that we'd done, I talked to Nikki Weller, which is his sister. His mum. And she said, "Oh, whenever you want out signing, just let us know. And we'll get Paul to do it for you. It'll be a pleasure." So I thought, well, fuck that then. I'm going to get him to sign something then. So I did this. I'd done this scooter that Jason, my mate, had let me have to do some artwork on, this Lambretta. And so I got the headstock and said, "I've got this headstock that wants signing. Can I pop down and get Paul to sign it?" So I ended all the way down to Blackburn Studios. And it wasn't in at the point, we were just hanging around. So while I was waiting for Paul to turn up, I just had a look around the actual studio itself, and you've held this guitar, and I just looked at it, and it's the Wham guitar, the Liechtenstein guitar, which is, because I sit on top of the Pops. Oh, our minds exploded as kids. How cool! It's the coolest guitar in the whole world. And there it is, and just there on the racks with all these other Rickies. And I just got to just look at it, and that were enough. And then he comes storming in, eating a pie with Craddock, and he slammed jukebox on and started dancing some Northern Soul while they were just waiting. And lo and behold, on that same day before I left, Noel Gallagher came through the door. He were recording with him for the 22 Dreams album.
Unbelievable.
So I took Noel to one side at that point. I said, "No, I've got this idea for one of your albums. You know, Quadrophenia with that booklet."
Yes.
He went, "Yeah." He says, "I want to do an artwork booklet for you." He went, "Fuck off." He says, "You know how much it costs to do an album sleeve?" So yeah, that idea never got off the ground.
fucking brilliant. I've never met Noel, but similar to what you just said, when I left, when did I leave? Oh no, I think it was the day before or something. I literally just missed Noel. He said to me when I last saw him, or when I saw him the time after, he said, "Oh, that time you come over, like 10 minutes later, Noel turned up." I was like,
Oh,
"Fucking hell, he couldn't have given me a call. I would have done a U-turn on the motorway just to get there. Do you know what I mean?"
yeah.
But I went
Brilliant.
recently. Me and my partner went to a Q&A with Noel, or a conversation with Noel in Kingston.
All
And
right.
what I wanted to bring up is he was. I wish I recorded it because it ain't going to do it justice. Me talking about you, but the way he spoke about you, he was. It was just so lovely, and he spoke
Oh,
so highly of you.
really?
And it must be such an honour to have someone like that who not only loves your work but classes you as a friend as
No,
well.
that's amazing. Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, very touching. Um, absolutely, but it's odd because I've only met him a couple of times in the flesh, and I think I'd crumble actually if I was stood next to him. Yeah, you've seen you've done your magic with lots of bands, and you take it on the chin. I should imagine 90% of the time you get used to being with people in bands and things, but there are certain people, no matter who, you just can't comprehend having a conversation with them. You wouldn't even know where to begin, would you? And
No,
I know that as sweet as Noel is, yeah, I think I don't know, I'd blow it probably.
there was there's a bit where you actually wrote a question that could have got you know answered on the day, and I was like, what would you ask him that everyone else is going to ask him, like about Oasis and this and
Mm.
that? I want to ask him something different. So I went on tour in January and February with the Brian Jonestown Massacre, right?
I
And I
what
know,
answer? What a
uh,
guy!
brilliant guy, man. And I know that they did a load of drugs with the Brian Jonestown Massacre years ago in San Francisco. So I messaged Joel G on the tambourine player and said, "What question would you ask him, mate?" He said, "Ask him if he would ever reconsider doing crystal meth with me again." And I was like, "Fucking no chance." So anyway, I wrote that question in. It never got answered, and then the missus wrote in. She just said, "Why don't you ask him if he wants to see a card trick?" And I was like, "Yeah, but what if he says, 'Who the fuck likes magic?' Then I would have to shout out, 'Your brother does.'" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But in the end, my questions didn't get answered.
Oh,
But
I wonder
sim
why.
no, no, probably, yeah. But I mean, similar to what you said, if I don't think I could have a conversation with him. That's one thing doing magic, and I've built a relationship up around
Yeah,
lots of lovely people who I've idolised. But if I was stood in front of him trying to have a normal conversation, like you just said, I probably would crumble and go,
yeah. You got to wonder as well, though, haven't you? It's a curse, isn't it, for him and any band, like, and for Liam and where they're built to a status where everyone they meet is a jabbering wreck, and you're never going to have a decent conversation with anybody apart from like your wife or whatever. And so it must be an
only
absolute
sometimes
nightmare.
with the wife.
I fell off my chair then. Listen, I've got a warning for you. That is me. My battery going to might die out soon. So, do you want a 2-minute break and I run and get a charger, or should we keep going?
Pete, we'll keep going. I've got a few more, mate, and then we'll call it because
All right,
honestly, I
no
don't want to
worries. I'm
spend.
on 10%. Just to let
Right,
you know, I don't know how long
we'll,
that
we'll,
lasts.
we'll have a few more
All
then,
right.
mate, just before you go. I tell you what I want to know is, like, what's the next 12 months hold for you? We know you've got the exhibition, you've touched up on that at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, but what else you got in the
I've
pipeline?
got to work on a new show for Sheffield Museums at Western Park. They've asked me to do an exhibition there, but it's going to be on for like 11 months. And that's going to be a really big major show for me. And so I'm going to start working on that for next year. And I've got some other projects as well that I want to work on too. So I'll be busy. There's no doubt about that. And I also want to do a pop-up show, but because of this Western Park one, I want to go up to Scotland and I want to go to Glasgow and exhibit up there. And I've got an idea for a show for that. But that'll be after the year after, which will be like 25. So yeah, and also with this Western Park one, I've got to come up with an idea for it. So I've got a rough idea where I want to be with it, but I've got to start scratching my head. I'm just got to get this one finished over the line, this latest one, and then I can get working.
Brilliant, man. Well, brilliant. Well, before your phone dies, I'm going to love you and
Right,
leave you, mate.
we got a okay moment.
All right. Do you still get you still? Obviously, we know about yourself in Sheffield. Sheffield Wednesday. You still going as much as you can?
Well, no, I've got. It's not a story. It's
You're banned.
basically after I had my liver transplant, I decided I needed to do something. Actually, the liver transplant brought on the concept of the liver transplant. The transplant games, which is basically it's like the Olympics, but for people who've had transplants. And I wanted to compete in it. And the only thing that was open to me really that I wanted to do was either play darts or play golf. And I've never played golf, but my brother, who's a maintenance fitter, he's played it all his life. We learned to play using nick golf clubs from the pitch and putt on our local park at Grays Park. So we just chugging golf balls on the back field when we were like 10. And so I decided to have a go at it, the old golf, and compete in the transplant games. And I enjoyed it so much. It's such an addictive thing to do that I decided to substitute my season ticket fees for a golf membership.
No way.
I know. And, the problem is golf's got such a bad reputation. It's just basically full of Tories or whatever. But there's a group of us, and we're all like-minded artists and stuff, and we're all lefties, and so we've got this little cabal of left wingers playing golf in the middle of like Tory town.
I used to play a little bit of golf, but I weren't ever any good, mate. The best 2 balls I ever hit was when I stepped on a rake.
I'm shit too. I'm terrible at golf, but I enjoy it.
I remember me and my dad played once, and we bought these new. I think it was Titleist balls, right?
Oh yeah,
it was like a 20
expensive ones. Yeah.
Well, I didn't pay, but I didn't. It was my old man did, and I think there was about 16 or something like that in the box, right? No word of a lie. By the end of the round, there was about 2 left. I was awful, mate. It was like the trees had a magnet, and every time I boom straight in the rough, mate. So
if you're a bad golfer, if you end up actually finding more golf balls than you bit, because you're just in the grass trying to find yours. You go, oh no, there's another one here. I'll have that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe me and you can have a game of crazy golf. I mean, is there any crazy golf near you? I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's the trendy stuff now, isn't it? Where they've got Golf Fang or whatever. It's a good laugh.
They've opened up a new crazy golf near me. Obviously in Belfast, there's I can't think what it's called, but it's like a jungle and all that, and they've like cocktails and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, what? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll make it competitive. If I want to play golf, or go crazy golf, like that's me, mate. Like, I'm going for it. I don't want to start walking around with a cocktail looking like Del Trotter. But
I respect your professionalism with the great noble sport of crazy golf.
I turn up with a caddy and everything. Happy Gilmore, man. But honestly, Pete, I've really enjoyed chatting to you, mate.
It's been a pleasure, mate. It's been brilliant.
Pleasure's all mine. Been an admirer of your work for many years now, and
thank you.
I hope you know, and
likewise.
It means a lot, mate, to have someone follow me and enjoy one another's work. It's brilliant, mate. So thank you for.
I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
How long does it take you to practice? How many hours? Because obviously it's seamless what you do, so that comes with time, doesn't it, and effort?
So my sort of story is I started at a young age with a Paul Daniels Magic set when I was about 6 or 7. My mum and dad bought it for me, and I practiced religiously every day to the point where I used to charge my parents to watch me. I used to put on a little show and charge them £1 to watch me, like mental in it. And then I just kept practicing and practicing, and I never wanted to be a magician. That's the truth. I wanted to be a footballer, and I remember I was exactly. I wanted to play for Fulham and that. And in the end, I used to do a lot of trials for Crawley Town Football Club when they had John Hollins was the manager, the ex-Chelsea boy, and that. And I wasn't ever as good. I was very fit, but I weren't as good. So I went down the magic route, and some tricks would take me a matter of hours to pick up the method, And then what it is it'll take a few weeks or so to sort of make it your own, if you know what I mean. Because everyone could, I tell everyone this when they say, oh, you know, you've got to be special to learn a trick. Anyone can learn the trick, but it's how you sort of broadcast it. That's the real art of magic. You know, anyone can go pick a card, or it's in the deck, oh, there it is, like that. Like, but there's no real entertainment to that. And then some tricks have took me, like there's this one move with a deck of cards, flicking the deck out and flicking this card out in a unique way. It's called a hot shot cut, and it's more of a flourish than a trick, but you can do it as a trick. That took me months to try and sort of manipulate this deck of cards to try and flick it around the little finger, to the point where I was getting so annoyed. I just had to, like, I was throwing decks of cards away because I was ripping. It was so frustrating, but you persevere and you get it in the end. But you know, some tricks take longer than others. The real big hitters take longer than others. But where I am now is I'm really happy with the tricks I learnt. So I add a little now and then. I'd put a one in that suits my personality and that. And at the moment, it's a lot of like stage comedy ones, similar to something you'd see Tommy Cooper do or something. I've done a lot of stage shows recently in the last 6 months or so. So just been doing big tricks that just made people laugh. And at the end of the day, if people are entertained seeing what I do, then I'm happy. You know, I would never do a trick like cutting a woman in half or something like that, because it doesn't really represent doesn't really suit the personality with me. There's no real funny way of doing it. Although Tommy Cooper did it with a woman who was so big she couldn't even fit in the box, could she? It was mental. I remember I got invited to go on this Tommy Cooper's Greatest Moments or something with Channel 5, and they said, right, you got to talk about Tommy Cooper. And I was like, oh my God, this is my dream. Right? And they sent me a script of tricks. I was just doing the trick, like all of these tricks. I think there was 40 moments, and about 15 or 16 of them were all magic related. So I was looking through them and picking out my favourite ones. And this one where they had the woman, and they said, right, describe it. I said, well, it's really funny. He had this really big woman, and she was quite a big fat woman, and he was like, mate, we've got to stop you there. You can't say that. We can't put that on there. I was like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Like, I think because I was so nervous on you know, being filmed and that, it just come out. I was saying, yeah, this really big fat woman. I didn't mean that at all, because I would never offend anyone, but it just come across so bad. But the way he did it, he was in a league of his own. The stuff he did when he used to pretend he was playing the organ, and then he'd walk through it, and it was like saloon doors, like absolute genius, man. Like if in 50 years' time someone remembers a trick I did, right, then I'll be happy. Do you know what I mean? But
the thing was, as well as the genius of the comedy, the presentation, the way that the character he'd created, that persona. It's a bit Stan Laurel in that respect. He was the probable goof, goon, wasn't he?
Do you know it's actually harder to do the trick and make it look wrong than it is to do the trick the right way? Like the way he would do the trick, but make it look wrong. Like it is pure genius. Because I mentioned this on the show. Like I've actually tried it, and it just doesn't look right. Like I can't describe. Like he saw things from a different angle, and he must have. I think the story is he used to do tricks in the army or something, and they went wrong, and people used to laugh at him, and he thought, hang about, if I'm getting a better reaction when the tricks are going wrong, why should I even try and get them right? But I love watching his stuff, mate. But Pete, thanks again for joining me, mate.
A pleasure.
And
all right, mate.
I'm sure we'll speak again soon. So I would like to pop down to that exhibition.
All right, definitely. I'll let you know all about it.
I wish you all the best with that, mate.
Cheers, Chief.
Thank you for your time, and have a lovely evening.
All right, up the Mods.
Yes, up the Wednesday.
Yeah, all right. Up the Fulham.
Yes.
See you, mate.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Shut up.
Bye, mate.
Bye.
It's a magic mud, a man of illusion, a magic god, the one the mud. I'm the magic mud, with a sleight of hand, the magic god. See my hands like raisins in sand, everything's work, I sell the men. next door.